it was just such a wild experience. We didn't get any work done, but Georgia teaches you that you don't always have to have the work done. Sometimes you can just have a good time.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. The summer series continues on Deep in the Weeds, and today we catch up with a former guest, food writer Anna Kharzeeva. Anna, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Anthony. How are you?
I'm really good. It's good to get you back on the show. When we last spoke, you'd just sort of landed in Australia. What's life been like since you've been here?
Well, it's good to be back. Thank you. And, it's been full on, but it's definitely much better now. Partly time helps, partly, I've met lots of people. I'm writing a second book now, which is exciting. And it's been good overall.
You've, when we had you on the show last, you told some amazing food stories and some from your book as well. You've had all sorts of adventures around the globe. Do you have any sort of food stories you can share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. So one story is about Georgia, where I lived for 4 years. It was a really great time. And once I had this idea to create a social enterprise, and I found 2 other girls, and we were sort of trying to figure out what it is we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to work with the rural areas, especially with women. And because it's Georgia, you don't go online and see, who needs help? You get in the car and you just drive and you knock on doors, which is what we did before we even had sort of a firm idea of what it is we wanted to do. I had this idea of making tea out of grape leaves because I'd read about it, and Georgia is full of grapes. So we drove out of town, out of Tbilisi for, I can't remember, maybe half an hour. And I just, I remember driving, and the next thing I remember is we're sitting at this picnic with people we've just met who put on this amazing spread for us. It's delicious Georgian food. People who we had clearly just met. I can't even remember what happened. Honestly, I think we didn't even have time to knock on any doors. I think someone came out and said, "Oh, hi, what are you doing here?" And we said, we're looking for people we could help, blah, blah, blah. And they just put on this spread of Georgian shashlik, which is this barbecued meat on skewers. Tonis puri, which is this beautiful Georgian, dense bread made in a tone, which is like a kiln. And peaches, seasonal, produce in Georgia is just something else. The peaches are incredible, and tomatoes and cucumbers, of course. And Georgian cucumbers and tomatoes are exceptional. And so we had that, and wine, naturally, homemade wine, which, I'm pretty sure we had some, and was delicious. And it was just such a wild experience. We didn't get any work done, but Georgia teaches you that you don't always have to have the work done. Sometimes you can just have a good time. You can just go and meet people and have a great meal. And we did find some women to support on our further trips and had lots more delicious meals, and ended up creating a social enterprise where sort of meals at people's homes was part of the offering, which was really fun and a great experience for tourists, because Georgian food and hospitality are really wonderful.
These sort of experiences that you have, what sort of impact do they have on you as a writer about food and sort of the things you like to explore in that sense?
Look, it's gold for a food writer, because it just takes you out of the ordinary. It sort of places you in this new situation where you're meeting new people and you're eating food in a different way, and you're not choosing what you're eating. Someone gives you what you're going to have. And I love that too, because I might pick out things that I'm used to, they're a bit boring, whereas when someone else serves you, it's always something exciting. And, you get these snippets of conversations and you get these really good bits to write about, that are just out of the ordinary.
Absolutely. Do you have any other food stories you could share with us today?
Yeah, so another story, another kind of, not so much of a story as such, but an experience that I really enjoyed was driving around Albania and enjoying the local food and wine. We started in the north and found that lots of places served Italian food because, of course, it's very close to Italy. And we kind of almost got the feeling that they were a bit embarrassed of their own cuisine and they kept saying, oh, just have Italian, it's better. And of course, I had to have Albanian. And so we found a restaurant that served sort of traditional Albanian cuisine, which has, both Italian and Turkish influences. And it's this Balkan mix. And it was delicious and fascinating. Like we had some lamb cooked in yogurt, like sort of roasted, which was delicious, and bread, cornbread, eggplant, baklava, just delicious food. And then we drove to the south of Albania, which is quite different and absolutely stunning. The Albanian Riviera, as they call it, is so beautiful and not touristy. There's not that many people. So when you go places, you kind of feel like you're the only person there, in a way, the only tourist, which is nice. And then the food is sort of more Greek influenced. So you kind of go to these tiny villages that make you feel like you're in Greece, and the local food is just fascinating. And I think it's such a great experience. I'm so glad I went there.
You've been to so many incredible destinations as a food writer across the globe. Is there a place that you think people should go to experience that you've explored before that you can tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, when I was living in Moscow and in Georgia, there were so many places to see that were nearby, which was really lucky. One place for sure is Armenia, for anyone who hasn't been before. I think Georgia is a more obvious destination. More people know about it now. Maybe Armenia is less so, but Armenian food is delicious. Their own cuisine is delicious. And Yerevan has just such a great restaurant scene. You can go to a place that will serve sort of traditional Caucasus fare, like dolma and hinkali, the dumplings, and the meats, the skewered meats and the pickles and all sorts of things, beautiful salads and beans. Or you can go to a place that does Russian food, for example, which is also really good. Or there's lots of Syrian places that sort of Armenian Syrians have opened up since they've moved back to Armenia. And my friend from Yerevan says that they've actually kind of elevated the cafe style in general in Armenia because they have really good service. And people sort of started frequenting these places and going, expecting more of the other places as well. So you get really good service, you get delicious food, and you get more sort of new cafes. Like we went to this vegetarian cafe that did sort of this elevated vegetarian food. Like I had a delicious cauliflower steak and great bars as well. They have a really good bar scene, beautiful wine, music, live music. And cafes, where you get really good coffee and you can get some baklava, or you can get more European style desserts, or you can have gata, which is sort of walnut pastry, which is an Armenian specialty. And of course, like lamajo, which is this Armenian pizza, which you might know as Turkish pizza, just with meat. I remember going to my friend's place, and one night we kind of didn't feel like cooking or going out as such, and she just called her neighbor and ordered like this massive stack of lamajo, and she brought it over, and honestly, it was so delicious and so easy to eat. The big stack disappeared very quickly. And I just think it's such a great culinary destination.
Yeah, amazing. Last time we caught up, you talked in depth about your book, and at the top of the show today, you mentioned you're working on a new book. Without giving too much away, can you tell us a little bit about what it might be?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm actually very proud because I won a Wingate Award for unpublished manuscripts just 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, 1 week ago.
Amazing. Well done.
Yeah, it's amazing to sort of get some recognition when the book isn't even finished. It's because working on a new book, you're kind of like, oh, geez, am I doing anything right? Is this working? So this is great. So this book is a memoir. It starts with the start of the war, full-scale invasion in Ukraine, and sort of covers my story with lots of flashbacks into my family history. So, because my great-grandparents left Kyiv almost 100 years before I left Moscow. So there are sort of parallels there, and lots of topics to explore that I didn't touch on in my first book. So it's a challenging project, but if I do it right, it should be good.
It sounds absolutely incredible. And as ever, it's amazing to catch up with you. You've always got a story to tell. Look forward to hearing more of that. So please keep in touch, and we'll catch up again soon.
Will do. Thanks so much, Anthony. Great to speak to you again.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.